What's good, y'all? Rich Sosa back in the building with another banger, man. So first things first, I just want to go ahead and say thank you, God, for giving me this opportunity. But man, y'all already know what y'all need to do. Be sure to go ahead and hit that sub button if you're new. Anybody who wants to join the Rich Gang family, be sure to turn on post notifications, hit that like button, and be sure to drop a comment down below when done. So today I got the top 3 most rare shooting builds on NBA 2K22 current gen. The first build that I do got coming at y'all is going to be called a stretch facilitator, but this is not just any stretch big build. This is actually a post scoring stretch facilitator, and as we go along you are definitely going to understand what I mean and why I named this build as is. So let's go ahead and get into the making. As you can see, when it comes down to the close shot on this build, we're going to go with a 93, but once you max this build out, add a boost and run with teammates that do have floor general, you're going to be able to get a 99 close shot on this build, which is going to allow you to be so much more versatile when it comes down to being in the paint. Now, as for the rest of this build, the shooting is definitely going to be on point, but when it comes down to the defensive and the playmaking side of the ball, this build is definitely going to be able to fulfill every single asset that you want out of a big stretch build. Now, as you can see, when it comes down to the shooting, we do get 23 shooting badges, which is something that I really do like. But when it comes down to the playmaking, we're going to be able to get 9, and that is perfect for this build. Let's go ahead and move on into the defense now. As you can see, interior defense is maxed out. Same thing with the lateral quickness and block. And then finally, you cannot forget about that defensive rebound. Now, take into consideration, what if this build is going to be able to add the extra badge points that you do unlock from every season? If you throw all of them into the defensive end, when 2K this year is over with, you're going to be able to get at least 10 defensive badges. Now, when it comes down to the body shape, this is really all based on preference, but to take up the most space, I'm going to go ahead and put it on Burley. Then, when it comes down to the height, we're going to be going crazy with 6'7". As for the shooting and the playmaking on this build, you get a huge boost once you do adjust the height. Now, as for the wingspan, this is very specific. So, just be sure to follow along, and as you can see, we will be able to get park dunks off rip on this build. But however, when it comes down to what this build is going to be able to do, once you max it out to 99, grind it out, buy boost, as well as run with the correct teammates that are going to be running defensive leader as well as floor general, this build really has the potential to do so many different things that a lot of stretch big builds aren't normally able to do. Now, when it comes down to the takeovers, we do get the sharpshooting, slashing, playmaking with the post scoring. I'm going to go ahead and pick the playmaking or the post scoring. It doesn't matter. If you want to break ankles and speed boost, I would really recommend the playmaking. But as y'all can see, we have made the stretch facilitator build Kyle Kuzma comparison. I'm telling you, Tobias Harris, really nice, solid comparisons when it comes down to this exact build. But now let's go ahead and take it a step further. The next one that I got lined up for y'all is going to be a super rare build name that you probably have not even seen yet. So I know that I already did bring y'all this build when it comes down to next gen. This one, however, is going to be called the Pure Shooter build, y'all. Now the build name is actually going to come out to Shooter, but I'm letting you know that this is not the Sharpshooter build that you normally see. This build is legit called Shooter. Now, that is why I call it a pure shooter. Let's go ahead and get into the making. We're going to make it under the small forward position. And I'm telling you, this is easily the rarest shooting build that you will be seeing all year. Now, let's go ahead and take into account which of the pie charts are we going to be picking. And for me, that is going to be the green, full green, pure shooting pie chart. Going to be the best one to make this build, of course, because of the name as well. However, when it comes down to these physicals, you want to be very specific. I'm going to go with the one with the 74 speed, 72 acceleration with a 60 vertical. Now, when it comes down to the finishing on this build, the finishing is actually not bad at all. So we're going to go ahead and max out that close shot. Go ahead and go with a 60 driving layup as well as a 60 driving dunk. Now we got to go ahead and keep the finishing as is just so we're able to still maintain the build name. But when it comes down to the shooting, mid-range shot is going to be an 86, three-pointer a 92, 67 free throw with a 95 post fade, y'all. 27 shooting badges. Then when it comes down to the playmaking, the pass accuracy 77, ball handle is looking really nice with a 65 post control for another 12 badges. Now let's go ahead and get into the defensive end. Y'all know I can't leave y'all hanging on this end. We're going to be able to get some pretty solid stats for this kind of build name, but we're also going to be able to get 7 badges on the defensive end. Now just take into account if you're able to add the extra attribute badges to this build, the defensive end is really looking a lot better than expected. You're going to be able to get at least 10 plus badges. But when it comes down to the body shape, if you want to take up the most space, go with Burley for defensive purposes. Now, when it comes down to the height, I'm going to go with 6'7". As for the weight, you definitely want to drop this to the lowest and then bring it back up to where it does not affect your physicals. Now, when it comes down to the wingspan on this build, you really want to go ahead and make sure you're getting the most out of this build. That means on all ends of the floor. So if you end up going with an 89.0 wingspan, you're still going to be able to maintain the build name. But if you feel like going with anything else other than what is shown here, you definitely can do that. Again, this really all comes down to the way that you see yourself using this build as well as your playstyle. The sharpshooting takeover paired up with the post scoring, really toxic. And as y'all can see, we have made the pure shooter build. Andrew Wiggins comparison, Gordon Hayward. I'm telling you, the build names are only getting more rarer, more better, and I'm telling you, with what they're able to do, these rare builds are honestly turning into meta builds if they are in the right hands. Again, all things taken into consideration, if you know how to use these builds, I promise you, you're going to be able to find success as well as maintain a really nice build name. Now, one final build left over for y'all, and I saved probably the best for last all around. So the third build that I did decide to bring to y'all today is actually going to be called the 3-point specialist, y'all. I'm telling you, like I said earlier, the build names are only getting more rare, more better, and with what you're able to do with them, I promise you, I got a fire build in store for y'all. So if you are still here, be sure to go ahead, hit that like button, turn on post notifications to join the family, and last but not least, be sure to drop a comment down below when done. So as you can see, we did go with a shooting and defensive takeover, but we're able to get more shooting stats out of this build. However, when it comes down to these physicals, very important, I'm going to go with the one that is more balanced with an 84 speed, 82 acceleration with an 81 vertical. And on all of these builds, when it comes down to the physical pie chart, you can pick either between the very first one on all of these or the fourth. It all comes down to your preference. Now, as you can see with the finishing on this build, I wanted to be able to maintain the park dunks, but on top of all that, the midi is still there. 3-point shot and the post fade are really solid, but when it comes down to the free throw, you're going to be able to take this build into any game mode. As for the playmaking, looking really good, 13 badges all around, but when it comes down to the defensive end, man, I'm telling you, this build is really going to be solid once you max it out and get all of the badges unlocked. So as you can see, pretty much you can really consider this build to be a two-way 3-point specialist. We get 19 badges on this build, 24 for the shooting, 13 for the playmaking, and we're still going to be able to maintain the park dunk animations that we do want. So I'm liking how the build is looking like right now. I'm telling you, this build is very specific when it comes down to the attributes. Let's go ahead and get into the height, weight, and wingspan. Now, as y'all can see, when it comes down to this, very specific when it comes down to everything, because you want to be able to maintain these specific animations as well as the stats. So For the wingspan, to maintain the build name, you really gotta go ahead and put this exactly to 87.0. If you feel like going lower, go ahead and give it a try, but I promise you, we do get the sharpshooting takeover lockdown paired up with the playmaking. Now, I'm not gonna pick for y'all, I'm gonna leave it up to you, but honestly, the lockdown takeover or the sharpshooting is looking really nice. And as y'all can see, we have made the 3-point specialist build. Again, man, y'all already know what y'all need to do. Be sure to hit that sub button if you're new. Hit that like button. Turn on post notifications. And be sure to drop a comment down below when done. Thank y'all. I love y'all and I appreciate y'all. And man, Rich out.